And joining us now is the House Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries of New York. Leader Jeffries, thanks so much for joining us. So you just heard the president there. Can a meeting with him actually achieve anything?
Well, it's important that the meeting take place so that we can avoid a painful Republican-inspired government shutdown. And our demands are really simple. We want to protect the health care of the American people, cancel the cuts, lower the costs, save health care. We are in the midst of the most intense assault on the health care of the American people ever. Largest cut to Medicaid in American history, a potential $536 billion cut to Medicare as a result of the one big ugly bill. Hospitals and nursing homes and community-based health clinics are closing all across the country, including in rural America. Tens of millions of Americans are about to experience dramatic increases in premiums, copays, and deductibles, in part based on their refusal to extend the premium tax credits for the Affordable Care Act. And Republicans have effectively ended medical research in this country. And so we need to make some progress on addressing the Republican health care crisis, and we cannot support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of everyday Americans.
As you know, the House Republicans are noting that they passed what's called a clean bill to extend government funding until November 21st. Only one Democrat backed that. So why wouldn't Americans blame Democrats if the government winds up shutting down?
Well, first of all, let's be clear. It's not a clean bill, it's a dirty bill. The Republican partisan spending bill continues the assault on the health care of the American people. That's why Democrats did not support it in March, because it was an attack on health care, an attack on housing, an attack on veterans, and an attack on the quality of life of the American people. And so it can't be a clean bill if it extends dirty provisions that existed in March. Second point is Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And so it's their responsibility to make sure that the federal government is funded. It's our responsibility as Democrats to make sure that if the federal government is going to be funded, it's actually done in a way that improves the quality of life of the American people, the health of the American people, the safety of the American people, and of course, the economic well-being of the American people, and that we are actually driving down costs, not continuing the process of jacking up costs, be that health care or in other areas, on the American people.
All right, Leader Jeffries, I want to jump in and ask about something else that happened over the weekend. President Trump called for Attorney General Pam Bondi to bring criminal charges against several of his political foes, like Democratic Senator Adam Schiff and former FBI Director James Comey. And then he later backtracked, saying, quote, if they're not guilty, that's fine. Your reaction?
There is absolutely zero basis for Trump's Department of Justice to go after and prosecute Attorney General Tish James or James Comey or Senator Adam Schiff or Federal Reserve Board Governor Lisa Cook. No basis at all. This is all a political witch hunt being led by a president who is bent on revenge. And that statement that President Trump made initially is Exhibit A for why this is a malicious prosecution. And it would be my expectation that if, in fact, they can convince a grand jury to bring charges, which I don't believe they will be able to do, and if, in fact, you have attorneys violating their oath to actually administer justice in a fair and impartial way and indict these members, I believe any charges will be quickly dismissed and that everybody involved should be held accountable. If they want to prosecute or investigate anyone, start with Tom Homan and the fact that he appears to have taken a $50,000 bribe, but they want to sweep those charges under the table to allow this guy to continue to unleash mass ICE agents on the American people.
Just to follow up on that, just to be clear, Tom Homan has not been charged. DOJ stopped the investigation. There are questions about that. So what is Congress going to do to look into it? Because if DOJ doesn't do anything, the power is now with Congress to look into it. What can you do in the minority?
Well, as Democrats, You know, as we've done in other instances, including the most recent situation with the FCC chair and the attack on the First Amendment that is ongoing, launch our own internal investigation, because Republicans haven't been functioning as a separate and co-equal branch of government. They are simply a reckless and extreme rubber stamp for Donald Trump's out-of-control agenda. And we are not going to wait until we take the majority back in November of next year. We're going to launch these investigations now and make sure, just as we've done in the case of the Epstein files, that we can present the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to the American people, and hold people publicly accountable for their behavior.
And just to be clear, Tom Homan denies wrongdoing and says there's nothing to it.
On another sensitive legal issue, Leader Jeffries, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia was pushed out of his job. Several reports saying that was for failing to charge the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, with mortgage fraud. What does that tell you about the independence of the U.S. Justice Department right now? And is there a role for House Democrats here?
There's absolutely a role for House Democrats, and I expect that effort will continue to be led by the top Democrat on the Judiciary Committee, Jamie Raskin. We are demanding that all information connected to this sordid affair be preserved, so that once the investigation is fully underway, led by us, and we'll see what the Republicans on the Judiciary Committee decide to do, that we can secure all of the documents and present them to the American people and ensure that folks are held accountable for their behavior. You know, one thing to understand, as people who are flirting with the Trump administration or doing the bidding of the Trump administration or engaging in the pay-to-play schemes of the Trump administration, the statute of limitations is 5 years. Donald Trump and this toxic administration will be long gone, but there will still be accountability to be had. And that process, of course, begins now, but it will not be complete until perhaps there is an independent Department of Justice, certainly an independent House of Representatives in Democratic hands. The Department of Justice is one of the great institutions in law enforcement in the history of this country, and Donald Trump and these extremists have been destroying its integrity. And we should also blame the conservative justices on the Supreme Court for all of the things that we see happening, because they basically gave this president blanket presidential immunity in a country where the framers of the Constitution said we don't want a king. But they've effectively enabled Donald Trump at times to behave just like a king. And that needs to be revisited as well. The Supreme Court, shame on them for what they've done to this country in unleashing this out-of-control behavior. That needs to be reversed.
Let me just follow up with you on that, though. By saying that, are you undermining trust and faith in a critical institution in this democracy?
Are you referring to the Supreme Court or the Trump administration?
To the Supreme Court. No, to the Supreme Court. You're saying, you know, they've unleashed this, the justices have done this, they made him king. Are you undermining faith in an important institution in this democracy?
No, what I'm undermining faith in is a decision that had no basis in the Constitution, no basis in law, and no basis in how the framers envisioned this democratic republic. We broke away from the notion of a king, a singular figure, and created three separate and co-equal branches of government so that no one would have the ability to unleash unchecked power, and that no one could be above the law. And it's reasonable, I think, to ask the question, why was that decision issued, and what are the consequences that have flowed from that decision over the last 8.5 months? And so that's what I'm questioning. Not the integrity of the court, but yes, I am questioning the integrity of that decision and what it has wrought now on the American people because of the out-of-control behavior coming out of the White House.
And on another very sensitive political issue in New York right now, several high-profile Democrats have recently endorsed your Democratic Party's candidate, Zohran Mamdani, in the New York City mayoral race. Are you ready, Leader Jeffries, to do the same? And if not, why?
Well, as I've indicated, I expect to have more to say about the mayor's race shortly. You're absolutely correct. The governor has endorsed, the Speaker of the Assembly about a week or so ago made an endorsement, and over the weekend, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke in the neighboring congressional district who's a great member of Congress, good friend of mine, made that decision. Everyone makes those decisions on an individual basis in terms of their timing, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to make that decision on an individual basis, consulting with other members of the congressional delegation and beyond here in New York, and then make the decision on timing. And it's a decision that's coming sooner rather than later.
When can we expect it?
Well, sooner rather than later.
Okay.
You know,
All right.
there is a lot going on in Washington,
That's
D.C.
true.
And as we
That's
noted
true.
at the top, we are actually in the midst of a possible government shutdown, and we're trying to protect the health care of the American people.
Okay, so let me just look at the broader, let me take a broader look, I should say, at your party right now. There was this recent Reuters Ipsos poll that found that 62% of the Democrats want to see the leadership of your party replaced. Do these sorts of polls make you rethink your approach at all? How do you view this?
Well, I think I understand why people all across the country, not just Democrats, are disturbed by what has been happening in this country and the extremism that has been unleashed on the American people. And we are in what I have referred to often as a more is more environment. We just have to continue to do more, to aggressively push back against the Trump administration and push back in a manner consistent with American values. More town hall meetings, more protests, more demonstrations, more speeches on the House floor, more speeches on the Senate floor, more hearings that are led by Democrats on the Hill, off the Hill, of course, more site visits throughout the country, standing up in defense of the American people, standing up in defense of law-abiding immigrant communities, standing up in defense of those who are vulnerable, pushing back against the rise of extremism in this country and the targeting of communities of color. We're in a more is more environment, and we have to continue to do more. What I will say is that in special election after special election after special election, we keep winning all over the country. Democrats are turning out in record numbers, and we're defeating Republicans across the land.
And we'll see what happens in the midterms, that's for sure. All right, before we go, I want to get your take on these large banners that have popped up throughout D.C. It's right here on the screen. These banners show Trump's face on them. You can see one of them on your screen right now. A new report alleges the administration is using federal funds to pay for these banners. Is that your understanding, and what is the Democrats' response to this?
Well, I haven't actually seen those banners, and we'll have to look into them. I think what we have seen clearly is that the Trump administration is using taxpayer dollars to promote their extreme agenda, and they're doing that because their agenda is deeply unpopular. Donald Trump is unpopular. The one big ugly bill which rips health care away from the American people, steals food from the mouths of children, and all of this was done to reward their billionaire donors with massive tax breaks. That's deeply unpopular, and they failed to lower the high cost of living. America's too expensive. They've done nothing about it. In fact, electricity bills are going up. Health premiums are going up, housing costs are going up, groceries are going up. And so the Trump administration is engaged in a massive propaganda campaign designed to deceive and distract the American people. As Democrats, we're going to keep our eye on the prize, focus on the things that matter, and deliver for the American people.
House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries, thank you so much for your time here in the Situation Room.
Always good to have you in the Situation Room. Thank you.